Hey guys, Ruben Lara here, and welcome back to another 15-minute sprint. I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes and see how much we can get done. And this is going to really force me to just pay attention to the major shapes and forms and really attack the painting as a whole instead of getting lost in the details. All right, and here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is import a pattern, which is a canvas pattern, just to give myself a nice base here. A little bit of texture. I think I'm going to make it something around like this. I want to get some really chunky brushes in this one. So we'll just assume it's kind of a small little drawing here. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is rasterize that layer. There we go. It just converts it into a single layer. And that way I can just go ahead and affect some of the color. So I'm just going to desaturate this just a little bit, maybe something like that. Also, I went online and just found some free textures. So I downloaded this high resolution texture, and let's put that in as well. So I'm going to copy that, paste it in, and hit Command or Control T. This is just going to give me a little bit of something to work with here. Maybe something like that. Hit OK. All right. And the next thing I want to do is just isolate those black areas so I can turn this into a color. I'm going to do a levels on this just to get a little bit of a sharper read on that. And then I'm going to go to convert brightness to opacity. That is going to knock out all the white areas. And there's this little icon on this layer, which means that Clip Studio is using this as a grayscale layer for some reason. So I'm just going to switch that back to color. Good. And now I can lock those pixels, choose some kind of color, and hit Alt or Control Delete. And now we're kind of giving ourselves a color here. I'm going to adjust that just a little more using hue saturation, and let's just go with something. Let's go with something like this. Yeah, let's go with something like that. All right. Taking my drawing, I'm going to put that on multiply, and I'm going to paint under my drawing for a little bit, and then on the second half I'm going to paint over my drawing. Good, so got myself a nice paint layer, and I think the first thing I want to do is just lay down a little bit of color here. That's my sculpt brush, I didn't want that. Oil paint flat brush, okay. All right, now I've got myself a little gamut mask here, which means I'm just limiting the intensity of the saturations so that I can just stay within some kind of palette. I'm working at about 4,000 pixels here on this canvas. Maybe something like that. I'm just going to get some random hues and tones here just for the sake of getting a little bit of interest in this. It's a primarily a white, predominantly white piece here, as you can see, but this will just give us a little bit of information there. And I'm also going to go to my rag blender and maybe just kind of disrupt this just a little bit. I'm hitting the letter C, deleting some of that paint I just put down just to give ourselves some variation there. All right, that's good enough. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do one more layer here. I don't typically like to work on so many layers, but I am going to just kind of work above my background for a second. So I'm having a hard time painting and talking at the same time. Okay, coming back to my colors. All right, let's start laying in some of this. So this is a tricky one because it's so bright and reflected that it's even hard to tell which direction the light is coming, but it appears to be coming from the top right. So let's go ahead and just lay down the basic form of this guy in grays. And let's see, saturate that up a little bit. I'm not super concerned. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I am going to paint right on top of this layer because I do want to get some of the value of that mixiness that I put down. There's no right way to do it, as you can see. There's lots of different ways to start paintings. Just whatever feels right at the moment, I guess, sometimes. There's some fundamental things like In this case, I'm starting with the mid-tones, and then I'm going to be going darker, which is just one method here. All right. Again, I'm trying to concentrate on the most important shape changes and planes here. So let's get this down, put these kind of planes that are facing away from the light. Now there's a lot of light on his chest here, but I'm going to start off by just assuming that there's one direct kind of key light, and then we can go in and put this bounce light, right, that's coming back up from the snow. So we'll just do kind of one thing at a time here. All right. And let's see, grab my cat's tongue brush here. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Start pulling up. And now let's lay down some of this local color here first. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of this orange. It's a very desaturated orange. Something like that. All right, get some of these little rust colors in there. Some on the face. Painting underneath my line work right now so that my brain can just concentrate on one thing at a time, and I don't really have to worry too much about my disrupting my drawing yet. I will in a second. Get the darkness in there, nose. Of course, we got multiple layers of trickiness here, because not only is there not a clear direction to this light, but his fur is a bunch of different colors. All right, we'll get some of these little rust colors in here. Again, I'm just picking from this palette, and what the palette's doing is just limiting the saturations, in this case, of my purples, blues, and greens. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to grab my sculpt brush and just start sculpting out some of these shapes here. Now I've attached a texture to the sculpt brush. I don't know if you can see it there, but let's see if you can see it a little more here. It's kind of inheriting a little bit of that canvas texture. But what I'm going to do is, I don't see it enough, so I'm going to click on my my wrench here, and I have it at 69. I'm going to scale this way up, so that when I paint, it's kind of matching the scale of the texture that I put below. I'm going to do the same thing with my O-Paint flat brush, which I also added this texture to. So I'm going to come to texture, I'll scale this way up as well. And now we're just getting a little bit more of that feel for this sized pattern that I put back here. All right, back to my sculpt brush. There we go, we're getting some of that nice edge. We're going to be coming in here with some fur details for sure. All right, I got 6 minutes left. Okay. Coming back in here, I'm going to start putting in some of these lights. In fact, I think now's a good time that I'm going to take this drawing layer and I'm going to duplicate it just so I have it for reference. And then we're going to smash all of these together. Yeah, I'm going to smash all of these together. And that's my new painting. Paint layer. Okay, going in on top of the painting, on top of the drawing. So get some of those darks in there. Again, I can't get too lost in the details here. Pick up some of this red, desaturate it. Lighten that up. I like using this slider method because I know the color range that I'm at, and it's just kind of informing me what's happening with this color, whether I'm going up or down. Just putting in this local palette that I can just keep grabbing from now, and now all the colors will have some kind of knowledge of each other, in this particular method at least. Lots of ways to paint. Okay, it's good enough there. Ooh, running out of time. Get the little fur in there, some reflected light in there. Wow, do I really only have 3 minutes left? How nice that little canvas texture is kind of pulling in there. Grabbing my sculpt brush. Pulling that information in there, even kind of getting rid of some of this line work a little bit. Okay, my last couple minutes, I'm going to go in and just start putting some of this reflected light. I'm going to cool this down. Two minutes left. Again, laying down local color in the hopes of kind of coming in here and just blending it out just a little bit. I'd really like to get that little eyeball in there. If I can. Sculpt brush. It's helping me maintain these kind of big forms. All right. The basics of that shape in there. Okay, and let's get that little eyeball in there. Cool it down. All right, pencils down. Thank you. I'm just gonna get a couple more darks in here just because I can. Okay, not too bad. Got most of the forms that I wanted to in. Again, this was a challenge because we got some fur in there. But man, once again, such a great exercise in just laying down the most important parts first. And you know, if we saw this from a distance, we can definitely start to get an idea of what this is going to be, what it needs to be. And now we can just spend a few more minutes refining, which I think I'm going to do. If you want to stick with me for a little longer, let's see. Let's get a few more important details in here. I think we need to get the rest of this tongue in here. Now we're starting to get a little bit into this, even some of this rim reflections here. This ear can go a little bit darker. Pull that up just a little bit. Some darks in here. My goal now at this stage is really just to kind of get rid of this line work, and as I do that, we end up kind of resolving some of these little form issues as well. Pull this down. It's a nice little darkness in there, and there even. Some redness in there. All right. And I think we can resolve this a little more, lighten that, gray it up. And just get a little bit of that darkness on the nose. Okay. I don't want to spend too much longer on this. Let's see, let's just get some of this tufty. I'm gonna use my cat's tongue brush for this. Tufty hair in there. Again, since we have that nice base, all that variety and base color now, it's kind of becoming our shadow work in there. Pull that local color. All right. Again, with this fur, we're kind of just doing a lot of implying, right? Implied detail. Again, so important. I'm going to drop some of that color in there so we can get our nice shadow for free. Pull that back in. Okay, and it looks like we've got some darkness in here. And this I think I'm going to leave just really loose because when I put this vignette in, it will resolve some of what we need to resolve. Grab this color, darken it, cool it down. We're kind of moving into the shadows in here. Be a little bit more. A little cooler. Just kind of hit that little corner. Just constantly color picking from itself. All right, now we got into this little hind legs area. I want to make sure that form is still reading. We don't just kind of overdo the fur to the point of not understanding what's happening now. All right, and a little bit of this tail. A nice rusty color in his fur. It's pretty amazing. some of those reds in there. Paw. And yeah, we'll just keep it nice and broad as much as we can. I'm gonna grab my one more pass with the sculpt brush, and this is just gonna help me kind of rein in some of this brushwork. I'm gonna go down to about 50%. I've set my keyboard keys to resolve opacity on these brushes here, so I'm just gonna blend these out 50% on this sculpt brush, so it's not so aggressive, but look how nicely we can find some lost edges here. Again, I don't want to kind of soften the life out of it. Just looking for that nice balance of hard, found and lost edges. Nice. And I really like this little cheek area here, so I'm gonna just express that a little more. Maybe come up a little bit more on that brightness. Give ourselves a little form. A little more brightness here, and a little bit of brightness here. Maybe some on this reflected area here, just to describe that chest area. Okay. Good, not too bad. We didn't spend too much longer on this. But I'm really happy with where we did get at the 15-minute mark, and I think the last thing I want to do is maybe experiment with a little bit of a vignette here. So let's grab this white and we'll pull this up. Look how nicely that texture on the oil paint flat brush reads. It's kind of like a big chunky texture. And this is going to give ourselves a nice clean read on the action. Come a little brighter underneath here just so we can have some contrast with his silhouette. Make sure I get a nice accurate drawing under here. Some nice big Lindecker shapes here. So I keep this drawing on top just as a reference. These feet are going to read nicely too in this silhouette. So this texture that's on my oil paint flat brush is just kind of reinforcing the impression that we're painting on this canvas. It doesn't really know about the canvas. It's kind of like a little eye trick there. And let's see, what kind of vignette do we want to give this? Working on a fairly large canvas here, so once I added this texture to this brush, it did slow it down just a little bit, but that's okay because I like what it's doing. So this wolf is definitely in the snow. Let's kind of make this vignette part of this snow action here. Almost like he's kind of leaving a little trail there. So I'm going to hit the letter C. hitting C again to go back to paint mode. I'm gonna go to my, let's see, flat ribbon brush, which kind of looks like that. Disrupt that a little more. Hit the letter C and kind of disrupt it backwards here. Give ourselves a nice strong horizontal there. That's kind of nice. And I think I might come in here and I think we need some kind of like I don't know, maybe it looks like the forest or something. Something like that. I don't know where that stroke came from. Let's get rid of it. Accidentally painted on the wrong layer there. And what else? Yes, I'm hitting the letter C, and I want to almost kind of like eat out the sprayed snow a little bit. Go back to my flat brush texture. It's almost like kind of using this background as the shadow. Sculpt brush, shadow of the snow there. Hitting letter C again, kind of bring that out. Hitting letter C again, eating it out. I think that's good enough. I'm happy with it. Combine these two again. Using my sculpt brush again. Finding a couple more opportunities to find a hard and soft or lost and found edges. And then maybe I'll just come in one more time. I feel like I really want to get that little dog smile just right here. And maybe just even that hint of some of that shininess. I love dogs. Something like that. Yeah, that works. And I think this might be a little bit too bright in there. Get some brown in there. And just one more pass of brights. Sculpt that out. And I'm calling it, because or else it maybe too past our 15-minute effort there. Maybe the last thing I'll do is add a hue saturation layer. So now that we've painted within this gamut mask, we can bring all of these colors up or down or across on the spectrum, whatever we want to do, because they all have some kind of relationship. Maybe I'll do a tone curve. Brighten that up a little bit. All right, and there we have it. A quick little painting, timing ourselves in the first 15 minutes to lay down as much important information as we can. Really helps us to learn how to set a foundation for the rest of our painting. If you want to grab a copy of my sculpt brush, I have really enjoyed using it. It helps me just blend forms together in a really productive way. You can grab that either on Gumroad or on QBrush, and I hope you give it a try. All right, don't forget to hit the little bell next to your subscribe button, and that way you'll receive alerts every time I post a new video. Well, that's it for today. Happy painting, keep on experimenting, and we'll see you on the next round.